Hello, everyone, and welcome. For our next speaker, he is from the Ateneo de Manila University. Everyone, please give a warm welcome to Sir Paul Segara.
Hello, good afternoon, everybody. Let me just start off by showing you my first screen before I make also my introductions. I wonder if you can hear me clearly.
We can hear you, Paul.
All right. And you can see my screen, yes?
Yes, Paul, sir.
All right. Okay. So let me begin by a little bit of a self-introduction, if you don't mind. I'm actually right now returning to the Ateneo de Manila University as an instructor after being gone for like 20 years, a long hiatus. I've just come back here in the Philippines after being assigned in different other countries, in different places as a missionary. I'm a missionary of the work of Mary, if you are familiar with that. However, right now I'm teaching with the environmental science department of the Loyola schools. And what I'd like to share about today is basically my experience, well, of course, in a very, very condensed nutshell, of what I've learned in my exposure to different mentoring experiences overseas. But also, well, this experience, as you will see, also started with my stint as a mentor, a resident mentor in the Ateneo de Manila residence halls. No? That was way back in 1995 and up to the year 2000 when I left and became a missionary for the work of Mary. Throughout, after my formation, my religious formation, I might say that I was assigned to Singapore, where I had the opportunity to learn to become a service learning mentor. And after a few years, I was also put in charge of the international service learning program of this school called Raffles Girls Secondary. And I held the position for the final 3 years of my teaching stint over there. I have taken students on service learning expeditions to Cambodia, to Vietnam, and the last one I did was to the Philippines, collaborating with Gawad Kalinga. After my brief 5-year stint in Singapore, I was assigned to Indonesia, where I was able to teach in our sister university, Sanata Dharma University in Yogyakarta, where I also, while teaching chemistry, also had some opportunities to mentor students on service learning projects, under service learning projects. After Yogyakarta, Indonesia, I was reassigned back in Italy and worked as a novice formator, as a member of a team of formators at our center in Florence. That was 2016 to 2018. And now I'm back here in the country, working again with a youth formation team based in Tagaytay up to the present. Okay. Now, I thought with my sharing today, begin by a well-known quote by Sir Isaac Newton, who once said that if I can see further than others, it is by standing upon the shoulders of giants. So I thought that quote is a bit emblematic of what mentorship is all about. So to begin with, I guess I could distinguish from my personal experience and from what I have also learned throughout these years. by reading up, of course, is that you can either be an incidental mentor or an intentional mentor. You know? So an incidental mentor is like, well, anyone can be an incidental mentor, because of you've been formed in a certain craft, you know, to do certain things, you have a certain experience, and therefore it's almost natural that you teach someone or accompany somebody's personal development in the field that you specialize in. And you start sort of like these opportunities to rub off what you've learned on them. But there is also such a thing as an intentional mentorship. I mentioned earlier that I was a resident mentor in Ateneo residence halls back in the day. I would say that that mentorship experience for me was rather incidental, because while I was teaching at the Ateneo with environmental science, I was also living in the residence halls. And I have had several occasions, just by being in proximity with a lot of our students, Ateneo students, that people will come and knock at my door, and of course, I would give them advice, etc. But there's others who come more frequently, and I happen to engage a little bit more, spending a little bit more time, because they felt that that perhaps that they feel comfortable enough to share with me how they would like to develop their careers, etc. So I was a kind of like an incidental mentor at the time. When I got assigned to these different places, Italy, in Singapore, in Indonesia, I've learned also a bit of the theory of mentoring, and there you might say that I have developed some skills at being an intentional mentor. And throughout these years of experience, I've just wanted to outline some of these things that I thought were important. They're not exhaustive. God knows I have a lot still to learn that maybe are important. But in these last 20 years, I would say that these points are important. First is, of course, you have to get to know your mentees. Apart from the basic personal information. And it comes very naturally by listening, also by observing. If we happen to be working side by side, if he's in your class, or he's in the same, he or she's in the same environment as you, and you get to interact quite often. And of course, there are these privileged occasions of one-on-one conversations, where, of course, a good mentor is actually, first of all, I think, is a good listener. And sometimes we think that we are actually good listeners, and I discovered that also sometimes the hard way, when I listen to somebody share their heart out, and I become aware that I'm already looking for answers, responses to what he was saying. And so I thought that and I realized that I lost a lot of key information by doing that. So it is something that one can be quite careful. We try to be quite careful. We teachers, it comes very naturally for us to speak, to teach. And it's very rare that from my experience, that we listen. Really listen to our students, especially when they share things, or rather personal things, or if they share mundane things, but in underlying those things, if you're not keen on reading between the lines, you might miss some important key information in guiding that person. The third thing that I've learned that was important is to have a plan. If somebody wants to engage you as a mentor, I felt that it's important for us to have a plan, and to base that plan, that, I don't know how we want to call it, development or guidance plan, and base that plan on not on your own goals as a mentor, but the mentee's personal goals, which is why it's important for you and your mentee to agree on what those goals could be, and it'll have. I mean, it's the mentee who has to decide that. Of course, we all know that just like normal teachers, we have to be encouraging, but we have to be as mentors, particularly even more encouraging than most. No, I mean for obvious reasons. No, clearly this is a different setting, different from a classroom where as teachers we can get used to meeting with a crowd of people, but often when you're talking to your individual student or small group of students, um, it's very important to have that personal touch as well, to not be too formal, but above all, like I said, be encouraging. I use more encouraging words than criticisms. But having said that, it is important also to be bold enough to correct and instruct when it's necessary and when it's called for, because they also appreciate this. In many of my talks, my conversations with young people, they appreciate very much when you're candid with them. Of course, of course you're encouraging, you're being encouraging as already. It is supposed that you have gained their trust, but it's when you are bold enough to be able to give constructive criticism and correction whenever then that's necessary. That is when really that trust, level of trust goes to a new level. It really goes um, uh, beyond what you might expect. Of course, very important, as I've learned is to model the way, to be authentic. Um, in our terminology. Instead of showing, instead of telling them what to do, it's better that you show them, and be there, and guide them through what you want them to accomplish, or um, the work that perhaps you're engaged in together. Of course, then this final thing, a lot of mentors, I feel, because I have also colleagues, who are occupied also with many things, have many other responsibilities. As teachers, we understand that, but a lot of my colleagues, would say that when they realize the amount of time that they dedicate, that they should dedicate to being a mentor, being somebody's mentor, is they back off because really mentoring calls for a mentor to dedicate really time, and sometimes you might think that time is wasted, but you'll see also in the end, I feel, and this is from my experience, that it's all worth it. It's all worth it. Enough said about that. Okay. When you mentor teams, especially for community involvement, I've learned some things, as well, and to help me remember some of the key points that I use. And this works when you're meeting them, as well as your general relationship with mentoring groups, your mentee groups or teams is concerned. And I developed this acronym called PACTS. Making PACTS work is a matter of trying to remember just basically 5 points. Well, actually, it's a little bit more than that, as you can see. And they're pretty self-explanatory as you see them on your slide, on this slide. So when we begin encounters, or when we begin mentoring relationships, it's always important to prepare, for encounters that are very personal, and I guess for obvious reasons, you don't want to create barriers It's important to be personable, to be open, to be, also to show your mentee that your mentees, especially if they're in teams, that you're capable of listening really to each one of them and all of them at the same time, and that takes a certain skill, which I guess you develop with constant practice. Um, it's very important in this sense to acknowledge individual contribution, as well as later on I'll get to the synergistic part, but acknowledge each individual contribution, thank the person for it, all right, and do that in front of the others. Do that in front of the others. A third point I would say, clarify and confirm. It this habit of seeking clarification. Even if you think that it's that what was just said by one of them, or one of them was very clear in your minds. It always helps to seek further clarification, even if it's just to restate what was just said, or what was shared, and confirm that you have understood, that one has understood what was said. It gives also the opportunities for the others who are listening, to to see how the same ideas can be expressed in different words. The fourth point I found useful, I would call Tai Chi Interactions, because most people think that since you're a mentor, if you're in front of your team, that you have all the answers, okay? And that you are able to provide the best response to a question, best solution to a problem. Be careful that you don't give that impression. And I feel that Tai Chi Interactions, that means, Tai Chi is diverting. When there's a tough question, you can always divert. What do you think about what was just said? How about you? What do you think about what was just said? Or even be honest. I don't know how to answer that, but perhaps you have another idea. Okay, so it engages the group. Individual contributions, as I was saying earlier. Then, of course, it's your job as a mentor later on, in an encounter or in a mentoring relationship with a team in general. This capacity to synergize all the ideas, start to find connections, and try to summarize the learning points. I found also this phrase to be useful for me. Don't lead, because you're not the leader of the group. Somebody else is it. Somebody else is, especially if they're working on some project. But your job is to facilitate. Mentoring is facilitating productive and creative interactions. I don't know how I'm doing with time. I hope. Okay. Now, on my return to the Philippines, when I started teaching again for the Ateneo Environmental Science, I started off again by teaching ES 10.01, okay, which is the Introduction to Environmental Science, which I used to teach way back as well. And in these courses, which were given to as a NATSI option, one of the requirements that we used to give as part of the syllabus was an advocacy project, a class or a community engagement advocacy project. In the last quarter, I just followed basically what my other co-teachers have been doing in terms of the percentage. But anyway, this CA project, community advocacy project, was worth the same as the final exam. So it's actually 15% for a written final exam and 15% for this project. There is a set minimum of what the project or group, what this group project aims to obtain, as a goal for the students. However, I thought I since because of my experience, because of also what I've learned to do, in organizing and facilitating and mentoring service learning projects, I thought, let's turn this into a service learning encounter, a service learning project done in teams. All right. And this was how I actually had them identify their projects, identify what they want to do. Let's see if I can zoom in on this. Okay, this is a very simple template. Okay, I call it bridging the gaps. Okay, here they you can focus on a general theme or topic. In this case, it's an environmental issue. Um, that is an opportunity for them to engage the community. And here there are these columns, no? And these columns have to be filled out. There are three rows because there are three options for each individual person, no? um, to identify, no? And it starts with filling out this column over here, needs, as the first one, no? And it's a kind of like an exercise, a survey of what they think the more urgent concerns of the community are, at that moment. Basically, just a brainstorm. Then they move to the third column, which is the service column, where they ask themselves, "What can my team and I do?" No? And here they try to also understand, look into themselves also, what they can do, what their talents are, their skills are, their knowledge that they can bring to the team in order to meet these needs. And the central column is where the learning is, no? And after they've identified three needs and three things that they can do concretely, no? They ask themselves, what else do I need to learn in order to bridge this gap? Now, how do I find, and what are the things that maybe I've learned in my course, in this course, ES 10.01, that might be useful, to learn more about, to deepen my knowledge of, so that I can bridge this gap. Okay, and through the project, in which I will be collaborating with others, with 4 other individuals, for example, in a team of 5, I may be able to work out a particular project with clear service goals and clear learning goals. All right, and I had this little thing here, a reminder of what SMART goals should be. They should be specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, and timely. All right. So basically, this is what this is the template for project identification, trying to see where, like I said, as a mentee, you should allow the mentees to take the lead, and they lead as a team. They figure this out as a team, and you're there simply to facilitate. Okay. How am I with time?
Sir, you
Bianca?
have 7 minutes left.
Okay. Thank you. Still 7 minutes. Okay.
Everyone, we're also opening the question and answer. So if you have any questions, please send them via chat. Thank you.
Yes, yes. So am I in the question and answer already?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Yeah. Because I wanted to be able to share some of the projects that
we can,
you might be interested. Yeah.
We can discuss that while waiting for questions.
All right. Okay. I'm gonna shift to a different screen then. Hold on. Oh, it's the same screen, but I can't see. All right. So anyway, to complete also my sharing, because there's that online component there in mentoring students for community involvement, and I've discovered this interesting app called Mural, and I'm sharing it with you right now, which may be quite interesting if interesting for those who would like to maybe guide similar projects, because it's a template that's that can be accessed both by the teacher and the it's like a glorified Padlet, where they have these templates where you can just simply it's like a form that they need to fill, where you and the members of your team have access to. This is an example of one of the project groups which I've mentored. Here, each post-it note color corresponds to a student, and here at the beginning they are identifying their roles, etc. Then their project goals, how you'll measure success, what will we need, all the way up to even a timeline, no? The project timeline. The nice thing about this is it allows you to work asynchronously. Okay, you can schedule a synchronous meeting to familiarize yourself. I mean, to agree on certain parameters, and then maybe make changes on this little mural there. And everybody at any given time will be able to go in and see the updates that each one proposes, no? And then of course then finalize it. Okay, so I'm just going to share with you two projects. Okay, one, let me see if I can navigate. Sorry, did I just turn off two projects here? Okay, one is because the project entails the use of social media in having a, oh, sorry, not this. Oops, sorry, I'm fumbling here.
We received a question po. What parts of the mentoring was most easy, most difficult for you to get the student to be actively involved?
What part was most easy? Rare. The easy parts are rare, if I might say. They might say so. The difficult part, I guess, was trying to get them to, how do you say, I guess, compromise among themselves on, giving their contribution and letting and valuing the contributions of others. It took, for example, took some time for them to identify a group that they were all commonly passionate about, right? Like, for example, there is this group, because I handled health sciences students at the time, and they came up with this project called Talk Out the Trash. Okay, and it's supposed to address this problem of increasing volume of medical waste. I mean, those that are classified as medical waste, like for example, these face masks, um, and infectious waste, not medical waste. Huh? And so they came up with this online campaign centered on this Facebook page, right, where they actually did these 1-minute videos, right? Now, before they could even agree on just scrolling through here now to give you some idea. No, these are, you will see their faces, those of the members of the group. They agreed on the parameters of their project. It took a while, and we did a few meetings together with them. Synchronous meetings to agree on the parameters. Okay, I guess that was the more difficult part. Well, the easy part happens. I mean, if we prepare, you have these templates. Those made it a lot easier. No? Of course, the difficult part, another difficult part, was this very shortened quarter that we had last semester, and so they were very much pressured for time in trying to complete the objectives and so on. And I guess that was the difficult part. I mean, particularly for me. Okay. I can show you while waiting for other questions. Maybe you can see on the chat if there are others. Sorry, I'm trying to navigate here. Because it's, sorry, yeah. Let's see if I can. This is another project collaborating with the Saturnino Urios. Sorry, not this. They collaborated with the Saturnino Urios Foundation which was dedicated to the protection of the dam. Okay. Okay. The dam, the Tagibo watershed. Okay. And they actually organized this information drive, information campaign to promote awareness of issues of land grabbing, etc. And they organized a raffle online, and they were able to raise 21,000 in funds, which they contributed to the foundation. Of course.
Thank you
Yeah.
for that wonderful discussion, Sir Paul Sigara. Unfortunately, we have run out of time. However,
All
if
right.
you have any thoughts to share, we recommend you go to gbseal.online/share. I will be sending
Yes.
the link via chat. Also, don't forget to attend our closing plenary later. It will be starting at 10 minutes starting from now. So
All right.
again, thank you for that wonderful sharing and enjoy the remainder of the day.
Thank you, Bianca. See you then.
Thank you.